talking about smashing them, crushing them, and now peace talks are a possibility.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. One has to ask why he is saying what he is saying. And he is, I think, speaking from a position of weakness, which if I was the Ukrainian, if I was President Zelensky, I would not want to hear talk of peace talks at the present time. And frankly, to be absolutely honest, I don't think we should be talking about it either, because it gives Putin a little bit of encouragement that maybe the West is starting to talk about peace talks. The reason why he's talking about it at the present moment is that he knows he's in trouble. And yes, he's been raising fresh troops, mobilized several 100,000, we're told. I don't think he's equipped them very well. I think he's probably trained them appallingly. And if he tries to launch a new offensive later in the winter or in the early spring, I think that offensive will fail. And then, of course, it gives the opportunity for the Ukrainians to mount another counteroffensive, which, on the evidence of what we've seen, they're likely to be successful. So Putin will be in an even less good position then than he is now. So that's why he's talking about peace talks, but we shouldn't be talking about it at the present moment.
First time in public, just 4 days ago, President Putin referred to fighting in Ukraine as a war. Prior to then, he'd called it that special operation. So is that kind of what you're talking about there? Is the situation has changed in Russia as well? He can't continue calling this a special operation when it's been going on the best part of a year now. And how is it being received by the Russian people? I mean, they can't be happy seeing all of their men going to the front line to a war that isn't going the way it was promised. They thought it would be just a 3-4 day operation.
Well, Ellie, I think you're absolutely right as far as that point is concerned. When it was just a special military operation at the outset, for most people in Russia, this was somebody else's war. This was a war that Mr. Putin had started, or a special military operation that Mr. Putin had started, and it involved his regular professional soldiers. But once he began the process of mobilization, it stopped being somebody else's war, and it started being everyone in Russia's war. And large numbers, if you remember several months ago, large numbers of Russian men fled the country because they didn't want to get involved in Putin's war. Those who were luckless enough to find themselves conscripted into the army now find themselves in the ranks, as I said earlier, poorly equipped, poorly clothed, in winter, poorly trained, and likely to be thrown onto the front line where many of them will die. So it has become everyone's war, which is why he's now talking about it as a war and trying to harness the Russian people to believe that Russia is the victim here, that Ukraine and the West are the aggressors, and that Russia must stand up for itself. Well, he's completely turned the story around by 180 degrees.
Exactly. It's